Right now, there is a travel mistake that can turn a normal trip home to Canada into a very stressful airport problem. And the surprising part is this: it may not be a new rule. It may be an old rule that many Canadian dual citizens still do not fully understand. Here is the issue. If you are a Canadian citizen and also a citizen of another country, you may have two passports. Maybe you use one passport when visiting family overseas. Maybe you use another passport when entering a different country. Maybe you have done this for years without thinking much about it. But when you are flying to Canada, the Canadian government says Canadian citizens, including dual citizens, need a valid Canadian passport to board their flight. And this is where people get caught. Not because they are trying to do anything wrong, not because they are hiding anything, but because they assume I have another valid passport, so I should be fine.
For many dual Canadian citizens, that assumption can create a serious problem at the airline counter. And before you book your next trip, there are three things you need to check: your Canadian passport, the exact name on your ticket, and the entry rules for the other country you are visiting. Because the airport is not the place where you want to discover a document problem. Let's make this simple. Imagine retiree Ruth from Mississauga. She's a Canadian citizen, but she also has citizenship from another country. She flies overseas to visit family for a few months. While she is there, her Canadian passport expires. No big deal, right? She still has her other passport. But when she tries to fly back to Toronto, the airline asks for the document that lets her board a flight to Canada as a Canadian citizen. That is where the problem begins.
Canada's guidance is clear. Dual Canadian citizens generally need a valid Canadian passport to fly to Canada. A foreign passport may not be enough just because it is still valid. And if the airline system says the documents are not right, the agent at the counter may not be able to simply make an exception. This is where a small oversight can become expensive. A missed flight, a new ticket, extra hotel nights, emergency passport stress, and a lot of panic in an airport where everyone else seems to be moving except you. And this is the part many people get wrong. They think the passport only matters at the border. But for air travel, the passport can matter before you even get near Canada. It can matter when the airline checks you in. It can matter before your boarding pass is printed. It can matter while you are still standing at the counter with your suitcase, your coffee, and your "I really should have checked this earlier" face. Very Canadian problem. Very avoidable problem. Now, let's talk about the second trap: the name on your ticket. Your airline ticket should match the passport you are using for that trip. Not close enough. Not "that is my married name on one document and my old name on the other." Not "my middle name is missing, but it is probably fine." Travel systems are not famous for being relaxed and understanding. They are not your favorite auntie at Thanksgiving saying, "Don't worry, I know who you are." If your ticket, passport, and travel documents do not line up clearly, you may face delays or extra questioning.
This can especially affect people who changed names after marriage, people whose documents use different spellings, newcomers whose older records were created in another country, or families booking tickets for older relatives. So before you book the flight, open the passport you plan to use and copy the name exactly. Every letter, every hyphen, every middle name, every spelling. This sounds boring, but boring is good when you are traveling. Boring means you board the plane. Now, there is a third issue: passport expiry. Some Canadians only check whether their passport is still valid today, but that may not be enough for every trip. Canada says each country has its own entry and exit requirements, and some countries may require your passport to be valid for a certain amount of time beyond your travel dates. That means a passport that expires in 4 or 5 months may still cause problems, depending on where you are going. This matters for snowbirds, seniors, families planning summer travel, students going abroad, and anyone who booked a trip months ago and forgot to check the passport drawer.
And let's be honest, the passport drawer is where important documents go to disappear beside old gift cards, expired coupons, and one mysterious key nobody can identify. So here is the practical checklist. First, check your Canadian passport expiry date. If you are a Canadian dual citizen and you plan to fly back to Canada, make sure your Canadian passport is valid for your return. Second, check the exact name on your airline booking. The name on the ticket should match the passport you are using. Third, check the entry rules for the country you are visiting. Do not assume Canada's rules are the same as another country's rules. Fourth, keep your citizenship documents organized. If you were born in Canada, know where your Canadian birth certificate is. If you became a Canadian citizen, know where your citizenship certificate is. Keep secure copies where you can access them if something goes wrong. Fifth, do not wait until the week before travel to fix a passport problem. Passport renewals, foreign passport renewals, name corrections, and emergency documents can take time. And travel stress has a special talent for becoming more expensive the longer you wait. Now, one important clarification. This video is not saying every dual citizen in every situation will have the exact same problem. For example, Canada has specific guidance for American-Canadian dual citizens, and other countries have their own rules. Your situation can depend on your citizenships, your route, your airline, your documents, and whether you were traveling by air, land, or sea. That is why you should always verify your own case using official sources before you travel. But the big lesson is simple. If you are Canadian, do not treat your Canadian passport like an optional backup document. For flying to Canada, it may be the most important document in your bag. If you only remember one thing from this video, remember this. Before you book the trip, check the passport. Before you leave Canada, check the return document. Before you send the ticket payment, check the name spelling. Because a passport mistake is much easier to fix at your kitchen table than at an airport counter. And for dual citizens, seniors, snowbirds, and families traveling this year, this is one of those boring checks that can save you a very expensive headache. This channel is here to make Canadian rules easier to understand before they become stressful. If this helped, subscribe for more practical Canadian updates on money, benefits, taxes, travel documents, and the paperwork that can quietly affect your life. And before your next trip, do one thing tonight. Open the passport drawer, check the expiry date, check the spelling, and make sure the document you are counting on is actually the document you need.